That's not what I'm doing. I'm interested in a much bigger process for people. So this is the warning and this is the opportunity. I'm like, what's it like to live without that denial system, to where you're free to feel everything and be present with everything? All right. What's the biggest lies buried in there? And let's see them as lies and let's be free of them. Go ahead, Sean.
Just a quick question. Like you said that the therapist was experiencing it from a victim point of view. What specifically? Because I would imagine a therapist would have a good understanding of emotions at least. So what specifically, how were they experiencing it? Like they were trying to get rid of them? Is that what you mean? Or
I don't know. I don't know. But let's imagine it this way. Yeah, if you are there and you're trying to get rid of them, let's say he comes in with the agenda, oh, if I really feel these emotions, they'll be gone. What's underlying that? I have a story. I need to get rid of these emotions. These emotions are no good. I can't stand them. I hate them. I want to be rid of this. I've come in with this whole story. I'm going to get rid of these. Right? And kind of implied and unconsciously that the attitude is, this is a real thing. This is a real problem. I don't want it. Okay. If it's a real thing, it's a real problem. How much aren't we putting more faith and conviction that it's a real thing, it's a real problem? We're putting more faith that holds it together. But if you to take the faith out, you have to eventually get to, it's not a thing. It's a story with emotion in it. It's not real and it's not truth. So the more judgment, victimization, the hero trying to fix it, trying to change it, all kind of reinforces that it's real unconsciously. As opposed to seeing, oh, this is a dream, this is a story, this is a memory, not real. Okay, so by saying not real, the story is not real. The identity is no longer a reality. I'm not 10 years old. The part that is real is the emotions are still there. Like, am I really feeling this guilt? Am I really feeling this shame? Yes, I still feel the emotions are still held in the body. So the emotions are there and you feel those, but then we can have a debate. Are emotions real or not? Well, show me one. You scientifically measure guilt and shame. No. But it's like, but do I experience it? Yes. And so there's this, we have to drop the language, what's real or not. It's like, do I experience the emotions? Yes. But does that mean the story's true? No. And if the story's not true, do I need to fight it? Do I need to wage a war against it? Do I need to really work hard to release it? Is this thing worth hating? You know, all of these extra stories are not doing the job of being present, being skeptical of the stories, and allowing the emotions to be. Does that help?
Is also acceptance part of the healing process, or is it also this neutral observer?
The acceptance from session 6 is the step that is intended to get you out of the judgment about this feeling or the victimization about this feeling. The hero trying to fix it approach, and like, okay, let's step back from those approaches to this and just go, okay, let me just be neutral. Let me be present. This is over here. The hero wants to rush in and fix it. Uh, the judge wants to hate it, tell us we're wrong, we shouldn't have it. The victim's really sad about it. Okay. That's intended to go from take this story off, that's all these things are bad about it, that's actually put in the way, pull that off, move out to the side and go, oh, those are over there about this, and I'm neither. And now you're out of the reaction story also. And that's how I use the acceptance practice. Like, okay, here's the feeling, here's the stories about the feeling. Let me step back from both. Because now you have a chance just to work with this directly. You can't work with this wound while you're judging it, while you're sad about it, while you're rushing to gotta go change it. Like, those approaches just add layers. So you have to take that off. And yes, so now you're like, okay, it's here. Let me allow it to be here. Let me start to be curious about it. Let me start to be present with it. Allowance, acceptance, acknowledgement is all moves into the releasing process.
Can I ask something as a follow-up question?
Yes, sir.
This all makes a lot of sense, and I'm wondering, how can I kind of choose in a way with which story to start? Or say I'm during term and it's quite busy, but I want to dedicate, say, half an hour or an hour every day to maybe write or meditate. And it's like I have my busy day, I stop at that time that I dedicated, and then I sit down and I'm like, okay, like, what do I actually want to look at? And then it's almost like my mind might like try to hide it at that point, and then I'm like, okay, I don't know.
Your mind will try to hide what?
It's like I want to set aside a time to like write, journal, or do something like that, but then I sit down and it's like I can't think of what I actually want to look at. You know, it's like I'm so distracted during the day doing other stuff that when I sit down for that actual time and I want to do some journaling, or I want to look at some trauma and kind of like just meditate on it, but it's almost like my mind obstructs it in a way. It's like I can't remember what I wanted to write about, or I can't remember.
Did you know earlier in the day?
Well, this is more me thinking ahead for when I plan to do this. So I guess what I would do ideally is during the day, kind of like note down what the things are that I feel. Let's say I notice I feel guilt during the day, and then I try to like note down, and then I revisit that, and I guess that's a way to do it.
Yeah. So note it down during the day when it shows up. Okay. The other thing to notice is what's the story that then shows up? When you're trying to find a thing to write about, what's the story that then shows up? You already told me. What did you tell me?
It's like I can't remember.
I want you to write about I can't remember. And this goes to a question Shanti posted. This is the wall that comes up. It says, I don't want you to go here. Because this is an important element of the denial system. Puts up a wall. The denial system is really important. Don't underestimate the power of the denial system. What's the denial system? Okay, I had this painful wound, really embarrassing, shameful moment, feel like a terrible person. Do I want to remember that? Absolutely freaking not. I want to go about my day. I want to go about the next day. I want to come back to class after I've been, I'm healthy. I want to come back to class. I do not want to think about it. I do not want to go into that pain. Right? That's the last thing I want to activate in my mind. If I think about it and I remember, I go into pain. I think about it, I remember, I go into pain, right? So what do I want to do? I want to forget this. We have an incredible capacity to forget. What is forget? That's the wall. I want to put this and bury it. Where do we bury it? Bury it in the basement of the subconscious mind. I have the memory. Like you could remember a billion different things, but you don't know them all the time. They aren't all actively alive as, it's like, what was your first car? Okay. What's the street you grew up on as a child? Like, you don't think about those things until you're asked. You're like, oh, I can pull that out of memory. Was it most embarrassing moment in fourth grade? I got that one. Do I want to remember? No, that's painful. And the denial system says, we're going to avoid pain. We've got a way to solve this. I put a wall there. You want to clean out the unconscious. Notice when you have a reaction during the day, when you're stressed, there's things climbing over the wall all the time. But we're busy. Like you said, you're doing your work. You don't think about it. And you're just like, stuff wants to come out all the time. All you have to do is kind of pay attention, date, what's going on, when your reaction, what kind of negative thoughts and judgments of other people, fears. And you're like, oh, okay, there it is all during the day. But when you go to put your attention on it, the wall. I want to clean up the wounds. Denial systems. No, I've been practicing keeping things down for 20, 30, 50 years. No, you're not getting there just because you say so. The denial system and why so much is in the subconscious, and you might recapitulate things coming up, new things coming up for a while, is the denial system is protecting us. It's the story of a real Gaia tells a story. It was in the book, Miguel's book, Beyond Fear. And Gaia was in Teotihuacan, and I forget how it happened, but her denial system, I think Gaia told Miguel, hey, I want to clean up all my emotional wounds. And Miguel's like, no, I don't want you to go through that. And Gaia's like, I know you can do it. I want you to allow me to, I want to let go all the emotions from my emotional wounds. And Miguel's like, no. And Gaia's power, she's like, Miguel, do it. Allow me to have that process. And it's like, okay, by the time you ask Miguel something 3 times, he goes, okay. And so there was a removal of her denial system. And what she began to experience was all the emotions from her life that she had buried. Okay. And it overwhelmed her. And, when you're feeling all of that emotion that we've accumulated, like every bad memory, an emotion of every bad memory at once, is very difficult to stay present. You move into that pain, and what happens, the point of view of we are in when we feel that pain is very seductive. It acts like gravity. Emotion acts like gravity to pull us in. Guilt, we're pulled into victim point of view. Anger, we're pulled into a villain point of view. We're pulled into the point of view of emotion, right? So to stay really present while you feel those strong emotions takes practice, awareness, control of your attention. It's not a good way to do the process, because you're more likely not to heal the emotions, because you're likely not to be in present. You're likely to get pulled in. And what are you doing? Now you're adding stories. Oh, poor me. This is terrible. Reliving the dream and indulging, as opposed to allowing those emotions to release. So when there's a wall there, notice the wall. It says, oh, I don't know what to write about. I don't feel anything. Hi, Mr. Wall that doesn't know anything. It's thank you for doing your job. Get to know the denial system. Appreciate it. And don't ask for it to all go away at once. You can say, it's okay to let one thing out now. You can build a relationship with that wall and say, it's okay to let one thing out now. Okay, we'll experiment with this, because that denial system is working for you. And if you build a relationship with that wall, it will work for you to allow it to heal also, because it doesn't know that there's a healing process and that you can engage in healing, that you don't have to hold these things down anymore. It needs to, that part of your subconscious needs to learn that process also. Yeah, I noticed a comment in the chat. I have nothing to work on. Yeah.
Thank you. That helps.
Yeah. In the IFS work, we'll talk about the wall being certain protector characters as well.
I guess like in this process too, like it's in and out, because like for me, like there's these parts where I feel like, hey, like this is great. I've got this, you know, I'm staying present, everything is great. And then something comes up and boom, like I'm like back in fear, back in all these
Yep.
places. And
All neural
yeah,
pathways get triggered.
yeah, right.
Okay.
And like this has just kind of happened to me, but I was actually reading IFS and I was doing some character work, and I got some I got some new ones, very painful, very deep. And it was like, I just pulled back. And then everything in my world became fearful.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then there's the judgment on that, hey, you've done this work, you know what to do, but I don't know what to do. You
Okay.
know?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you get to a point, you're doing great. Thank you. You're doing great.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's this is a normal course of the story. We do a lot of work. We do a lot of work, clean up a lot of wounds, clean up a lot of wounds. Okay. Right? Do we get to all of them? No. What happens? Denial system, you know, not holding things back, where it's more porous to allow us to feel things, right? We build up our awareness, we build our ability to hold our point of view, be present, release emotion, like, oh my God, so much has changed. Life can go pretty good for months, years. And then lo and behold, surprised. Here's a memory, here's emotion. Was really painful that we buried really well. Click. Okay. And what happens is now we're in it.
Yeah.
And the fear, the anger, and the injustice and the shame. Okay. Takes us over. Very typical. Particularly in a trauma history. And because we haven't built the neural pathways to connect to that brain firing, while our brain firing, that is our conscious awareness, neutral observer perspective presence, is also firing. Okay. When this one turns on, we're used to having those turned off. And so boom, this one turns on and it's the only thing that turns on. The other ones are turned off. That's the way our brain is used to firing in that memory. Okay. So then you're like, oh, okay, what happens afterwards? You know, we don't stay there permanently.
No.
No. Okay. So then we're like, oh, what the heck was that? And lo and behold, if you write about it, what are you doing? You're turning on you're writing about it, preferably in the way self-mastery course in third person. You're writing about it as an observer. You're writing about it as characters. You're writing about the emotion. What are you doing? You're turning on your conscious awareness presence, putting your attention on there as an observer by journaling. And you're like, oh, that was that and that and that and that. And oh yeah, and all the emotion. And what are you doing? You're adding perspective. Okay. You're adding other stuff to it.
Sometimes I feel-
To this new memory that you haven't added your conscious present brain to previously.
Right. It's like sometimes I feel the only work I can do around it is just to calm my system.
Because
You know,
when
that-
because when you notice what happens
Sorry.
when it happens was like, okay, the memory fires. It's not just here. It's happening in my hand. My forearm is tight. It goes up through my arm. My shoulder is tight. That I could take my whole body into a clench. That's what a memory does. It can take our whole body into that. I gotta do everything I can relax my body while this is firing. Oh, okay. Let me disconnect. We have my body relax and go, oh yeah, this is tight. This is all fired up. Let me relax my jaw. That's where it starts. Okay. And then I can kind of work on this shoulder and go, okay, can I get some flexibility in that shoulder? Okay, maybe a little bit in the wrist. This is still tight. But I'm like, okay, I got some flexibility, adaptability in this part of my body. All right, so that's where it starts. And you're consciously getting hold of the presence of your attention, your brain, to operate in its executive function level, as opposed to being the amygdala fight or flight for your whole body. And as you do that, okay, now you're out of the amygdala response, fight or flight, and you can relax your breathing, you relax your body. Okay, now I can deal with this as a single event in history as opposed to it's happening right now, which is what this is. Okay.
I have a detective that comes along and is like, looks for proof to back up why I should have that fear and should have that,
Mhm.
you know.
And one of the stories, and the other thing you mentioned, one of the stories that gets added is, oh, I should be past it. I've done all this work. What's wrong with me? I'm falling backwards. Okay. What is that identity? Here's the identity of the judge. Let's step back from that and be accepting. Hey, what do we move? We practice acceptance. Let's move back into this. It's like, hi, judge. I know you want to show up, and I know you want to imagine me as this character that's all enlightened and never has an issue. And you're saying that's who I am. But oddly enough, this belief is saying that's who I am, and this is happening. And I feel as the observer, I'm actually neither of them. So let me just sit in acceptance and acknowledge that A, I'm not the judge. You're okay. I'm not the perfected one that you say I am in that story. And I'm not the character in this story of pain and fear either. But let me just relax my body, do the acceptance. They're all there. They're all telling stories about each other. Acceptance moment. Okay, so yeah, here's another one that's like the judge. This is where we're supposed to be, and you've ruined it, and you've fallen backwards, and now all progress is lost, and this is a catastrophe, and we should just quit and give up our life. And it wants to run that kind of direction. Fair enough?
Fair enough, yes.
Yeah. So this is the observer kind of presence acceptance, acknowledgement, distance we need from the judge and perfection story, the same time we're doing it over here. And this is why I kind of like to do dream theater. It's like, okay, let's put them all out in front of us at once.
Sometimes there's that feeling of, okay, this is happening. And there's an awareness and present that knows it's happening. But I guess there's parts that want to come in and fix that. If I can just sit with that, okay, this is happening. I guess.
Yes. And because all the parts that want to come in and fix it are all the kind of compensating strategies that we've used in the past.
Yeah.
And we're going to shame it. We're going to bury it behind the wall. Oh, and because this is what the judge is doing. Oh, you shouldn't be that way. What is that? Let's bury it behind a wall. Let's deny it. The stuff in the denial system doesn't heal. But it sure feels better. And it worked for a lot of years. Oh yeah. My brother and I thought of course, we were going to teach for a long time. We were going to call it strengthening the denial system. It's like, why try and get all this stuff out of the denial system? That's painful. Forget that. What people really want is just a stronger denial system, and they'll be happier. They just won't know about this.
Oh yeah, I got characters saying, stop picking those scabs. Just leave it.
Yeah.
Leave it alone.
So we considered teaching that course, but it didn't align with truth and integrity. So we're like, yeah, we could really market that well, though. People be all for a better denial system, though.
Yeah, I would sign up. Today I would sign
It's
up.
being sold.
Last week.
It's being sold.
It's being sold. Yeah, there's
is.
lots
So
of
if you just look around.
there's lots of ways
It is
that
being sold. Look closely, buddy.
Materials list. The materials list for that class is weed and alcohol.
weed, alcohol, money, job, car, new relationship. Yeah, here's make your denial system better. Don't deal with your emotions.
There's days I wonder if I'd be better off. I go back to that move, the first Matrix, I think it is, when one of the characters gets asked to go back into the Matrix because he's had enough.
Oh, I've been there.
Yes.
In real life, you can't go back though.
Yeah.
You can't.
Thanks for hearing my expression.
You're welcome, Karen. Yeah, this is normal stuff. Because here's, if you just want, like, oh, I got this emotional thing, I want to go heal it, this little thing in my life, go find somebody who's going to go work on something, that little thing, and just let it out of the denial system, go clean it up, and like, okay, I got the one thing, and it's like, okay, it's done. That's not what I'm doing. I'm interested in a much bigger process for people. So this is the warning, and this is the opportunity. I'm like, what's it like to live without that denial system? To clean up after you've cleaned up all the emotions, to where you're free to feel everything. Okay. And be present with everything. All right. What's the biggest lies buried in there? And let's see them as lies, and let's be free of them. And then what's life like? So what I'm interested in is teaching the people that want to take the whole journey. And you can use this for as much as you want to use this for. And if you choose, you can take the whole journey. And there is certainly a story that comes up, and I thought people wrote the Matrix and put that in there. It's like, yeah, I didn't want to know this much. I didn't want to feel this much. I did not want this whole thing. Just put me back to sleep in a dream and make me an actor, someone who plays pretend. So I thought the choice of or make me a president. Yeah, put me in a role. Okay. That would be nice. Very tempting. And one that we're all going to face at a certain point in that journey if we go far enough. Okay. But again, it's the denial system. And it's done a good job for us in the past. It's helped us in the past, but it's not given us truth.